Well, welcome back to another episode of Fox Sports Lab NRL. I'm Eloise Sohier, joined alongside Josh. Josh, how are you going this week?
Going good, and we saw a couple of upsets on the weekend, and we're going to see that throughout the Origin period. But this week we see all the Origin stars return, so I'm really looking forward to the weekend of footy ahead.
Yeah, some big inclusions this week. Let's start on Thursday night footy. The Eels hosting the Rabbitohs. Eels are $2.30. Rabbitohs $1.61. At the beginning of the season, we probably wouldn't have seen those odds. But Eels, they've lost 8 of its last 9 matches, and the Rabbitohs got a great strike rate against the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, and that's it. Souths are obviously coming off the back of the bye. They get their Origin stars back. I like I like Cam Murray coming back to the back row. I feel like his work rate in the middle was so high at the start of the season, and he really looked jaded. So to have him on the edge there, I think is a really good thing for South. And Keon Kaloa-Matangi in the middle has been outstanding. His past month of football, he's been probably the form 13 of the comp. They get Latrell back into their side. So they are definitely, they're a side with no fear at the moment, and they're playing some really good football. If you told me at round 18 the Eels would be sitting in last place, I would have laughed at you, but they just haven't had a really good year. But some great news for the club. They've got 2 debutants this week in Jake Tago, who's in for Mike Acebo, and Charlie Geimer, a young back rower. So, look, I think the Bunnies will be too strong in this one, and it wouldn't surprise me if Alex Johnson pops up on the scorer's sheet. He loves scoring a try. Against the Eels, he scored a try in his last 6 versus the Eels, so no doubt they'll be looking to get the ball his way this weekend as well.
Can you see the Eels turning their form around at any point in this time of the season? We know Mitch Moses was back last week after his performance at Origin. Where do you think it's just not quite working for the Eels?
Yeah, look, they obviously had a couple of excuses there with Gutherson and Moses being out. They looked good when they first got back in the side together, but then the same problems have kind of arose. I think the middle of the field is where they've been beaten. And you look at their pack, and they do have a really good pack, but for one reason or another, it just hasn't worked out for them. And I would say probably through that middle part of the field, that's where they've been beaten week in, week out.
Up next, we've got the Broncos, $2.42, hosting the Premiers, $1.56. Panthers coming off that loss last week to the Cowboys. You know, there was a host of Origin stars missing. The Broncos went down to the Warriors. Again, Origin stars missing. Do you like the odds here, Josh?
Yeah, well, look, I think the Panthers will be disappointed with that loss at home. And for the Broncos, they would be equally disappointed with the loss to the Warriors away. They're now sitting in 10th. You can see that the effect that no Adam Reynolds is having on their side in terms of their game management. Tony Staggs sits out this game for personal reasons. We all hope he's doing okay, but Dean Mariner comes into the centres and Corey Oates goes onto the wing. For Penrith, obviously, their Origin stars return. I'm really looking forward to the battle of the fullbacks here. Reece Walsh versus Dylan Edwards. They passed in Origin 2, and it was Edwards who come up trumps in that one. Obviously, Reece Walsh had a pretty disappointing game, so he'll look to bounce back from that, and what a way to do it against the Premiers. But Penrith have won 16 of their last 17 following a loss, and they're 7 of 8 against the Broncos in their last 8 matches. So I think the Penrith Panthers will be too good in this one and bounce back, and it's worrying signs for the Broncos sitting in 10th right now, and they could slide even further.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a point to prove for Reece Walsh this weekend up against Dylan Edwards. Up next, Bulldogs $1.47, Warriors $2.66. I love that the Doggies are up at the top of the table, or in and around there, and that they're the favourites this weekend against the Warriors. But at home, they've won their last 7 matches, so a great record. And it's all sort of good news if you're a Belmore fan.
Oh, it's great news. I was actually sidelined for the game last week versus the Sharkies, and it's the first time they've beaten a top 4 side in 19 matches. So you could see after the full-time siren what it really meant to the players. They're 7 from 7 at home, unbeaten. This is going to be a tough task, though. I think they can't be complacent. The Warriors, I think they've been outstanding. Yeah. When they've had Harris Tavita and Tamari Martin in the halves, they have looked really good. They looked good for that period. Then Sean Johnson came back, got injured, and now they're back in together. They were outstanding. And Mitch Barnett for the Warriors, he is knocking on the door of a Blues jersey. He has been playing some outstanding football for the Warriors. But for me, I like what the Doggies are doing at home. The Warriors have won their last 6 versus the Dogs and their last 3 as an underdog. But we're talking about Dogs. I think the Dogs are a good thing this weekend to get the job done. And Stephen Crichton, for me, I think he has to be Buy of the Year. His leadership, what he has shown, the way he gets this team together, and I just love what the Doggies are doing. So I'm tipping the Doggies in this one, Eloise.
There is so much talk about Stephen Crichton. He's even been labelled as potentially a captain of the New South Wales Blues in years to come because of what he's been doing at the Dogs in his first season. Just lastly, rounding out, we're going to touch on the Cowboys, $1.70. The second last game, rather. Cowboys, $1.71. Seagulls, $2.12. Tom Trbojevic returns in the centres this week. Do you like that?
I actually do like this. I kind of spoke about this at the start of the year. I was, worried about his hamstring and his injuries and the amount of running he was doing. I suggested that potentially he could play in the centres and Kohler could play at fullback. The younger of the two has the the kilometres in his legs. So I actually really like that, and I think Manly, this is the strongest side they've fielded all year, in my opinion. They're coming off the bye, so they are fresh. Daly Cherry Evans is back. But for the Cowboys, obviously, they had their win against Penrith away, and that does huge things for their confidence.
And they'll be seeing 6 of their Origin stars too in that one.
Yeah, this one, it is a flip of a coin. Manly have won their last 4 versus the Cowboys away. So for me, that speaks volumes about them being able to travel, and some teams you just have the wood on. I actually think that Manly can get the job done in this one, so I've tipped them for the upset.
Oh, there you go. Upset up in Townsville. Okay, lastly, rounding out Roosters at home, Allianz Stadium, $1.22, hosting the Dragons. This is huge. $4.30 for the Dragons. We have to cast our mind back to Anzac Round when the Roosters absolutely pumped the Dragons. So they'll be looking to square the ledger and to get one back on them. But we have to remember that Jared Warrior-Hargreaves is in such a big milestone game, being the most capped Roosters player. There's so much emotion it feels for this game.
Yeah, and look, they're going to want to go out and put in a performance for Jazza and get him the win. I was lucky enough to play alongside him. He is one of the Roosters' greats. What he has been able to do for that side for a very, very long time and in the front row position has been massive. So obviously they had the big win over the Tigers and it was clinical. They looked really good. They lose Joey Manu. Michael Jennings comes into their side and Zach Lomax comes back in for the Dragons. They had a good win over the Dolphins, but yeah, I think the Roosters will be too strong in this one. I think the Roosters will get up for it, and they'll give Jared a big win here. If you're looking for try scorers, I guess Teddy, he scored a try in his last 4 games versus the Dragons, and Dom Young always scoring tries. He's got a try in 7 of his last 8 games. For me, I think the Roosters win this one. I think they win it by 13 plus again, Eloise.
Yeah, wow, huge result there. Would be a big occasion for them to get the job done. Just lastly, we'll get some tips on the rest of the games across the weekend. Sharks, Titans.
Yeah, look, I'm going for the Sharkies in this one, but it's only just they're not playing really good footy at the moment. They need to get out of this form slump, so I think they're going to do that up in Coffs Harbour.
West Tigers taking on the Storm.
Yeah, look, I think even without Harry Green, I think the Storm get the job done here. They're sitting in first for a reason.
And lastly, back at home for the Raiders, GIO Stadium, they're hosting the Knights.
Yeah, look, I think the Kalen Ponga coming back into their side really strengthens it, and I think the Knights can get the job done here, and it's kind of a little bit similar. He missed a lot of the last year and then came back, and the Knights flew home. Could we see a repeat of that this year again?
Well, only time will tell. Josh Morris, thanks so much for your time as always. We'll chat next week.
Thanks, Eloise.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.